A $100 million private island. That is insane, right? We're not talking about a private jet, a private island, which has been acquired by none other than the entrepreneur Richard Branson. How did this man single-handedly build his million-dollar island? How did he even get the island for its ridiculous price? If Richard Branson knew the dangers he would face by getting the island, would he have still bought it? Let's find out what happened in this story of triumph over adversity. In 1979, Branson purchased Necker Island for a reason that you would never have guessed, frankly. At 28 years, the young entrepreneur expressed interest in an empty 74-acre Caribbean island that was on the market for $6 million. The Virgin Group founder was told that he could potentially own one of the Virgin Islands. In his own words, to be honest with you, I've never heard of the Virgin Islands. I had no idea where they were located or that they were actually called the British Virgin Islands. But one Thursday in 1978, I was told that they existed and I could potentially own one. The Virgin Records was still upcoming, and he had no means and definitely not enough money to purchase an island. But he thought it would make a safe haven for Virgin Records at the time he was also trying to come up with a way to woo the girl he'd fallen for, Joan. Joan Templeman was born into a home of 6 in Glasgow in 1948. Her dad was a professional carpenter who needed more to sustain his family. He had to work in an antique store to support this. But being the bright child she was, Joan grew up just fine and into a courageous and beautiful young woman. So early in her life, she achieved a lot, and she was even married to her childhood sweetheart, Ronnie Leahy, before they got divorced in 1978. Shortly after, she discovered a keen interest in music and entrepreneurship, and took it all the way up to Virgin Record Studio. Just like her dad, she did a lot to support herself and even went on to model for prominent magazines. On the other hand, Richard's plans were clear and manifesting. He wanted a world that mimics his own imagination, and taking that decision was very easy for him. He flew into the British Virgin Islands with his helicopter to make his own observation. He really wanted his own real estate in the heart of the Caribbean Sea. After what had been amazing viewing, he quickly made his initial bid of $100,000, which the then owner John Lyttleton declined. Richard took it hard, but he was a modest millionaire in the 70s. Then 2 years later, John contacts him and offers him a shocking sum of $120,000 due to a new government restriction at the time. Richard happily signs that deal and went on to inherit whatever the government was going to throw at him. Now, he needed to get the place running before his beloved dreams will be taken by the government. He had to develop the place in the next 4 years, or see the island automatically reverted to the feds. Richard thought deeply, and he came up with an idea to build a resort, which he successfully completed in 3 years. And the Virgin Dream was born. He spent over $10 million in some of the finest woods from Brazil and Bali, Asian antiques, Indian fabrics, lots of prestigious artworks, the best of architectural minds. Richard moved in to expand Virgin Records, and with the hope of finding something truly meaningful about his journey. He decided to attract rock stars and famous people to his home by taking this global. Did you know that he once invited Sland interviewed Mick Jagger? Branson then went on to sign notable names like Rolling Stones, Sex Pistols, Peter Gabriel, Steve Winwood, Paula Abdul, and XTC. He met his future wife at the live-in recording studio that was built for the Virgin Records. Within seconds of meeting, he fell for Joanne. She was a down-to-earth Scottish lady, and he quickly realized that she wouldn't be impressed by his usual antics. Even in their early stage of meeting, Branson hovered uncertainly outside of her workshop until he finally built up that courage to walk in. The shop sold old signs and advertisements, which he pretended to the shop owner that he was fascinated by. 2 years after they had first met and were dating, he made up his mind and contacted the realtor in high hopes. Luckily, the realtor didn't know his financial position and offered an all-expense-paid trip for the weekend. Richard said he would only accept it if he could bring a guest. And you guessed it, he brought none other than the girl he was trying to impress. Richard says he fell in love twice that weekend. First, when he saw the island surrounded by turquoise water, coral reefs, white sandy beaches, and secondly, when he looked over at the beautiful smile of his girlfriend by his side. The realtor was asking for $6 million for the 74-acre Caribbean island. And Branson only had a fraction of that. He didn't give up, though. Keen to impress my new love, I offered the highest amount I could, $100,000. As you can imagine, the realtor was less than impressed and left us high and dry to find our own way back home. 1 year later, however, the owner of the Necker Island still hadn't received an offer and was desperate to sell, says Branson. Virgin Records was in a much better position than it had been a year before, so I quickly agreed to purchase a price of $180,000. That's about 97% of a discount from the original asking price. Oh, wow. However, it was on the condition that he would build a resort there in 4 years as proof of ownership, or the government would claim it since they identified him as an alien landowner. The British Island property, a luxury staycation destination with 175 employees. As with other Virgin assets, our team will raise as much money as possible against the island in order to save as many jobs across the group as possible, Sir Branson said. According to reports, Richard had spent over $10 million creating and maintaining that resort over the years. He calls it the most beautiful place in the world. His refurnished island has welcomed many celebrities, both powerful and famous, such as Princess Diana, Prince William, Prince Harry, Barack Obama, Mariah Carey, equal importance, by the way, all of these names, and others. He also uses the island as his luxury abode, which will surprise you the most, is that Necker is rather low-key. It is more of a place for relaxation and peace than partying. Though there is certainly a time and place for both, of course. And in keeping with Branson's Virgin ethos, the staff and island atmosphere are less stuffy than you might expect from an ultra-luxe property. You might be doing some math in your head right now, just maybe. So, how then is the island a $100 million island? In 2006, Branson estimated that the island's value had increased to around $60 million. That is a 33,233% increase over what he paid for it. In an interview with the UK website This Is Money, he described it as his absolute best financial move. Presently, the island is estimated to be at over $100 million. Renting it out right now costs $107,500 per night. That's up to 40 guests across 20 rooms, or $128,000 for up to 48 guests in 24 rooms, with plans to increase the pricing in 2023 and again in 2024. $128,000 is like only $50,000 shy of what he bought it for. That's crazy. Anyways, although in 2020, Sir Richard Branson has revealed plans to put Necker Island up as collateral to secure a €500 million loan bailout from the United Kingdom government. Sir Branson made the announcement on his Virgin Atlantic website on Monday, April 20th, after the UK Treasury rejected the airline's initial loan request. According to the international media reports, Virgin Atlantic's request for the £500 million loan was initially denied after the UK Treasury determined that the airline hadn't exhausted all other means of raising funds prior to seeking state aid. Virgin Atlantic, like many other businesses. Branson stated that receiving the bailout loan from the UK government is critical in order to keep his airline operating in these uncertain times. The reality of this unprecedented crisis is that many airlines all over the world require government assistance, which many have already received. Without it, there will be no competition. Hundreds of thousands of jobs will be lost, as well as critical connectivity and enormous economic value. All will be lost, he said. This would be in the form of a commercial loan. This would not be free money, and the airline would pay it back, as EasyJet will do for the £600 million loan the government recently gave him. Sadly, in a massive hurricane, Irene hit Puerto Rico, sending residents fleeing for shelter and refuges, and knocking out electricity across half of the US-administered island, including San Juan, the capital. The incident set Branson's priced home in flames. What will Richard do in the crossfire between the natural world and the business world against his priced island? And in case you're wondering, yes, Joan was indeed impressed, and they've been happily married for over 40 years now. I hope you were also impressed with our video. Maybe? Anyways, like and subscribe for more videos like this, and to know more about the peril faced on Necker Island, which devastated Richard Branson, his family, and other residents. Thanks for watching.